that the Assad regime has responsibilities under the UN Security Council resolution. That in no way confers legitimacy on it. Our position on Assad has not changed, that he has lost all legitimacy and he must go. So the fact that his regime has responsibilities to comply with this resolution does not confer political legitimacy on it. In fact, it's the opposite. We have said repeatedly that the Assad regime must go. If and when there's a transitional government in place, they will assume responsibility for implementation of the Security Council resolution. And that's exactly what the Secretary was saying.
But you're saying that the Assad regime allowed al-Qaeda to flourish and be nurtured and so on. Could you explain that? How did they do that?
The security situation in Syria today that is a direct result of the Assad regime's brutal crackdown on its people, the civil war that the Assad regime has been waging against the legitimate moderate opposition, has created a climate and a security atmosphere where groups like al-Qaeda can flourish, al-Qaeda affiliated groups can flourish. So we've said repeatedly that the security vacuum in Syria hasn't just let extremists flourish in Syria, but around the region. We've talked
since the beginning of 2013, Assad's forces have laid a siege on Ghouta, in the capital or in the suburbs of the capital. The Syrian forces are stopping food and other goods from coming in. And as winter approaches, activists are warning that the situation is about to get even worse. How are you dealing with the situation there?
Well, we certainly agree with the concern. We're deeply concerned that the regime has blocked humanitarian access, which has resulted in severe shortages of food and relief supplies. And you're right, winter's coming up, and it certainly doesn't make it any easier. We've also heard reports of possible starvation-related deaths there. And so the United States, along with the international humanitarian community, will continue to work to get life-saving relief supplies into these areas, but let's be clear that it's very hard, which is why we've called on the Syrian regime to allow humanitarian access in repeatedly. And in accordance with the Security Council's recently issued presidential statement, the U.S. called on all sides in Syria to facilitate aid deliveries to people in need, including through the easing of bureaucratic hurdles, which often the regime relies on to prevent this kind of aid from getting in.
And then you mentioned now there is bureaucratic whatever barriers to go through it. Still, you are going through the Syrian government, right?
No. So thank you for the question. I've got some information on that. Let me just pull it up right now. So we do not work directly with the Syrian regime to get humanitarian access in. We work diplomatically with those who have influence over the regime to urge them to allow humanitarian access.